And that's why I'm very concerned about the upcoming presidential election. It's clear that the Russians interfered to help Mr. Trump in 2016. Is Mr. Trump turning a blind eye to that because he doesn't mind if the Russians involve themselves again to try to enhance his prospects for re-election? It's really quite unnerving to think that this president, Mr. Trump, can in fact turn off law enforcement and intelligence capabilities if they pose a threat to him personally.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, President Trump calls out the New York Times, accusing them of virtual treason for their latest article that they published on cyber espionage. You're going to want to stick around to hear about that, plus a whole bunch of other news stories, including Alex Jones offering $1 million to anyone out there who can prove that he is innocent in this latest alleged setup where it seems that emails have been put on his server or have been sent to him that contain exploitative pictures of children, and very much an illegal felony. So you guys are going to stick around and check out this video. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I'm your host, Craig. I always like to begin by saying thank you to everybody who's come here and hit that subscribe button. Also, again, been saying this for a little while now just to make sure I get everybody. But everybody who helped get us past 200,000 subscribers, thank you so much. That really was a big deal. And if you haven't, please come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications, and hit the thumbs up button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. So, obviously, today we are picking up with a lot of news that is happening, but we're still waiting for new posts on the Q board. It seems like we're not getting much here in the last, I would say, almost over 3 weeks, or actually almost 3 weeks now. But we are going to be getting more information that's coming out publicly through President Trump's Twitter. And of course, we can always use the news of today to go back and look at older Q posts and put together more information based off of what is happening. It's the future proves past type of thing. So with that being said, I want to start, of course, by coming here and reminding everyone. First of all, if you're new, come here, watch these videos, share them on your social media. Look, I've gone through this about 100 times, but we all know what's going on with YouTube and Google and Facebook and Twitter and the rest of them. These social media companies, but especially in my case here for this channel, Google and YouTube, are deciding to become the arbiters of morality and truth, and they decide what content gets suggested, and they act more as publishers and less as an open speech platform. So I depend on you guys to hit that share button. You guys don't know how much of a difference that actually makes. There's a share button at the bottom of each one of these videos. You just go find it, click it, and share it on whatever social media you have so that we can get the word out that way, because this is the only way we show them that we're here and that they can't silence us just by, pushing us into these memory holes and these digital gulags, as Matt Drudge said. So we have to be continually pushing the information out there. And if you're asking yourself, what's QAnon? What's this guy rambling about? All of that. Well, there's a good answer for that. So watch this video. What is QAnon the Great Awakening? You can find it here on the main landing page. I encourage everyone to go check that out. So with that being said, thank you so much for your support and hitting the share button. That really makes a huge difference. Today, we're going to be looking at this. Now, there's a lot of controversy at this story, and we're going to get into other stories later here in the episode with, of course, regard to what I mentioned earlier with Alex Jones and all of that. But for now, we're going to focus on this story. So basically, President Trump decided to give an interview to George Stephanopoulos on ABC, which I believe it was ABC News, but somebody said that there was something weird about President Trump tweeting at ABC instead of ABC News, which I'm not sure I know that, but there's a lot to this story that we're going to unpack here. Let's read the tweet first, then we're going to look at an older Q post, and we're going to kind of put some of these things together in context of why the mainstream media is going after the president so hard. And there's a lot of easy, simple answers to that, but we'll get into the more complex ones here. It says, I enjoyed my interview with George Stephanopoulos on ABC. So funny to watch the fake news media try to dissect and distort every word in as negative a way as possible. It will be aired on Sunday night at 8 p.m. and it's called President Trump 30 Hours, which is somewhat misleading in that I personally spent only a small fraction of that time doing interviews. I do have a few other things to do, Think I will do many more network interviews as I did in 2016 in order to get the word out that no president has done what I have in the first 2.5 years of his presidency, including the fact that we have one of the best economies in the history of the country. It is called earned media. In any event, enjoy the show. Perfect. Okay, so enjoy the show. How many times has Q said that to us? We all know what Q is, right? For those of you who are like really new to this and green to it, I'll give you the little elevator pitch rundown. QAnon is a group of Q clearance patriots who are close to and near the president, who are also affiliated with military intelligence, who have been basically posting online and asking questions that draw a narrative without actually giving away classified or top secret information. So we've been doing a parallel construction for, I don't know, almost 2 years. And in that parallel construction, where we're taking these questions that Q's been giving us and applying them to the news and what's happening, we were able to put together a whole set of information that lends itself to explain an incredible amount of the reasons why the fake news were lying, reasons why the FISA court was abused, reasons why there's a huge problem that's not reported on by the mainstream media with human trafficking and sex trafficking in our country when it comes to some of the most unbelievable and high-ranking individuals involved that you'll ever imagine. We've been able to do a lot of work with the information that we've been getting, and the reason it's had to come out this way has everything to do with the fact that the mainstream media will not report on this information. Therefore, we are disseminating the information that the American public needs to know to not be mental slaves of these big media propagandists. And what do I mean by that? Well, quite simply put, let's consider this. Here's President Trump addressing the fact that George Stephanopoulos did this report on him and that it's just an exaggeration. They're trying to dissect his words. You guys probably saw in the news recently where they talked about how President Trump was saying it was okay to take information from foreign agents about his adversaries, political adversaries. But the hypocrisy is palpable when you look at the fact that they'll accuse the president in a hypothetical, making a statement in a hypothetical question that, yeah, he would look at information, as compared to Hillary Clinton, who literally orchestrated the purchasing of basically disinformation propaganda research that was then used as a predicate by our intelligence communities to illegally spy on the president. And they didn't even need a predicate because they were already abusing the surveillance systems before all of this happened, allegedly. Let's just look at this for what it is. President Trump is accusing ABC of being one of the worst at distorting information that should be otherwise presented to the American people. And then he has to continue to be engaged with this for, 2.5 years? There's one thing to have a media that scrutinizes the president. It's one thing to have a media that questions the narrative and reports, what they feel. But it's a whole nother thing to look at the media today, where it is a weaponized attack dog for the liberal Democrats and leftists in this country. There is no way that you can tell me that CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, and CBS don't have an extreme liberal left bias and have an extreme disdain for our president and his policies and his administration and his followers and supporters. No one in America can turn on a TV and watch one of these mainstream media companies, which are all owned by the same 6 corporations. You can't turn on the TV without seeing negative news about the president. They're trying to hinder his ability to administer, or rather implement, his administration's policies. And this is really one of the most dangerous parts of the fake news and how they are truly the enemy of the people. So this is one example. And it kind of makes sense, considering one of the stories that we saw released earlier before a lot of this came up and started popping up back on, I guess this would be Friday now. But they came out and they're hitting President Trump from ABC News, of course. And they're saying that, they leaked his internal polling data from March and it showed him far behind Joe Biden in key battleground states. It's like, okay, well, is this a real story, or is this just a pointed story that it can't be verified one way or the other, right? How can you really verify this besides to say, oh, well, was it something that he saw as being like a fake poll, a suppression poll? Could it have been an internal poll that he had taken that was, conducted incorrectly? Or is it just that this is the way that the information has come out? But the way that they frame the story is what matters. They frame it in the fact that President Trump is just terrified because his internal polling is showing that he's way behind Joe Biden, when in reality, this election is not even getting started, really. He hasn't even officially announced it's coming up in Orlando. And not only that, think about this. President Trump is the president of the United States. He is concerned about becoming the president again. That's surely one of his top priorities, but he's got to run a country. But, fake news, ABC News, these people, they're ravenous hyenas picking at the, metaphorical carcasses left behind by the deep state traitors who have infiltrated our government. So, look, this is where we're at. We can't get past it other than to say that there's more fake news, whatever you want to call it, coming out. As President Trump here, as I said in the beginning, accuses the New York Times of a virtual act of treason for their report on U.S. cyber attacks against Russia. And I'm going to read some of this story because it puts a lot of this into perspective. It says, President Trump accused the New York Times of committing a virtual act of treason in response to a report that said the U.S. government the U.S. is ramping up attacks on Russian power grid. In a pair of tweets Saturday evening, the president called the venerable, I love this, the venerable news outlet, the enemy of the people. I believe that President Trump's 100% correct in that assessment. In all capital letters. Oh no, in all capital letters. Whatever shall we do? Here's the actual tweet saying, do you believe that the failing New York Times just did a story stating the United States is substantially increasing cyber attacks on Russia? This is a virtual act of treason by a once great paper so desperate for a story, any story, even if bad for our country. Also not true. Anything goes with our corrupt news media today. They will do or say whatever it takes with not even the slightest thought of consequence. These are true cowards and without doubt the enemy of the people. So hypothetically, let's just play this story out. Let's say there is a ramp up in cyber attacks against Russia. Maybe it has something to do with Germany deciding to open up the pipelines from Russia into Europe, thereby undercutting the U.S. and giving the former communist enemies of the country here, formerly, and now we're basically just foreign adversaries, whatever you want to call it. But look, if President Trump's fighting this battle behind closed doors clandestinely and saying we need to start hitting Russia because they're funneling gas into our into Germany, which is, let's be quite frank about all of this. There's a reason why it's called the European Union. There's a reason why the Russians called it the Soviet Union. It's not really the kind of union that you would ever want to be a part of. And it's a bunch of unelected bureaucrats who have removed the sovereignty from most of the European countries. And this is what is terrifying. Because look, President Trump's saying, are you the New York Times or are you like the Moscow Times, right? Are you the Global Times in China reporting on their being their state-run media apparatus? Who are these people running these news organizations? First of all, they won't touch a story, right, that lays out in plain and clear, without any doubt, that President Trump's not a Russian agent. They won't touch that story. They won't touch the story that talks about how John Brennan and James Clapper and James Comey were involved in one of the most illegal obfuscations of justice this country has ever seen, using their power in their unelected bureaucratic positions at different law agencies or law enforcement agencies and intelligence agencies to go after and target the president at the behest of the sitting administration, mind you, illegally abusing the FISA court, weaponizing information that they gave to themselves. But of course, for them to start reporting on that would mean they'd have to expose themselves for not only being duped by it, but more likely being completely and 100% complicit in it, in this targeted takedown of a president. These people are the ones who are trying to destroy this country. When President Trump calls the New York Times the enemy of the American people, the enemy of the people at large, he's not lying. There's nothing about this story that lends itself for me to say that President Trump is doing anything that these people accuse him of. They call him, he's trying to be a dictator. No, I'm pretty sure the people trying to be the dictators were the ones who were working in the Obama administration, who were weaponizing super surveillance systems like the Hammer, HAMR, as exposed by WikiLeaks Vault 7, which was basically weaponized and secretly used by the Obama administration to illegally violate Section 702 and unmask U.S. civilians that were close to President Trump during the campaign in the run-up to the 2016 election so they could get Oppo Research to attack him, and then to also subsequently set up an insurance plan to then attack him after, if he did in fact win, which he did. Now, they're all in bed together. The New York Times is in bed with the big tech, with Washington Post, who's in bed with, the big tech social media companies and the big media corporations. They're all in this together. They're the criminal cabal. And when you watch, we'll watch a little bit more of that video of John Brennan being interviewed with the most hilarious thing that he says. He kind of outlines there and says, look, well, President Trump would try to stop us because he is obviously against the CIA. No, it's because you criminals that were running the CIA were illegally using it to basically line your own pockets and sell our country out to the Chinese. They talk about Kim Jong-un's brother being a CIA asset, and President Trump says, that would never happen under my auspices. And then John Brennan's like, I don't know what he means by that. You know exactly what he means by that. You guys were working with the communist Chinese to replace Kim Jong-un. So no wonder why he was shooting nukes everywhere, because he knew that you were working with China to have his brother take over for him once you assassinated and replaced him. So all of this information, obviously, you guys do your own research. Don't take my word for it. But look, I just implore you guys to really keep reading closer into all of this stuff. And when you look at these virtual attacks, then it's like clockwork. All of a sudden, Target gets hit, and you can't even check out of Target. So there is a war going on behind the scenes that I don't think anybody even sees, and it's pretty bad. Here was an interesting story I thought I'd bring to you. Apparently back in, according to this log, apparently back in the 2018, there was a request made, a FOIA request made from, of course, the Department of Energy here. This is one of their logs on how they intake, where I don't know how many more have come after, but I thought this one was interesting, that there is a log in place here, and I'll find it real quick, that here it is, for the Center for Investigative Reporting, asking for all documents and records from Department of Energy's Office of Inspector General regarding QAnon. More specifically, I hereby request all documents, including but not limited to reports, memos, meeting agendas, or notes, and both internal external communications regarding the identity of QAnon, a supposed high-level government whistleblowers who claims to have Q clearance, which only exists within the Department of Energy. Please limit the date range of this search. So who did this? Well, Aaron Sankin. Now, where's Aaron Sankin from? He's from this wonderful website called the Center for Investigative Reporting. Really, really groundbreaking stuff here. Their whole website's basically about how hate is all around you. And they explain to you how guns are about hate in the homeland. And they talk to you about how the hate report, and you wonder why. This is what they do, though. See, we, as I think conservatives, libertarians, and even probably some people who are a little more liberal who follow President Trump and Q because they realize that the leftists are crazy. But this is what they do. This is how they picture us. This is their hobby. Their hobby is talking about how hateful we are. Their hobby is telling us how we're all a part of this big white supremacist neo-Nazi cabal, when it's just not the truth. And but this is their obsession, and this is their passion. So good for them. They're hopefully, I'm sure they're going to get a response from that soon. And of course, speaking about what happened with guns, we have this, of course, Adam Schiff in California, this pencil neck dweeb, who is introducing a bill to bankrupt gun manufacturers. They're going to keep attacking the gun manufacturers. What's new? That's really, there's nothing new there, other than the fact that we have more information today than we did before, and it all shows that all the evidence points to the fact that guns are not the problem. Okay, it's mental health, it's misdiagnosis, it's the pharmaceutical fixes. There's a lot more to this, and they don't want to do it. They just want to demonize gun owners because they're terrified of the fact that we have a well-armed citizenry and they're terrified of the fact that we have a well-informed citizenry. And those two things make us the greatest country in the world, along with many other things. But let me tell you what. That's the reason they try to take your guns. That's the reason they try to control what you hear and what information you can receive and what you can think. It's because they're terrified of those two things: an well-armed citizenry and a well-informed citizenry. So that's why we have to keep fighting for this every single day. Of course, now it's turning out apparently that Director Wray is not cooperating with investigator or Attorney General Barr's Spygate investigation and is supposedly burying documents. Well, that's probably true. Now, let me tell you why that I think this is probably true. Let's think about this. As reported at theamericanreport.org by Mary Fanning and Alan Jones, we have incredible information about the whistleblower, Dennis Montgomery, who took dozens of hard drives to the FBI back in 2015, before the election, which categorically, according to him, proved beyond a reasonable doubt that President Obama's administration, under the purview of John Brennan and others, took the super surveillance program, HAMR, commonly known as the Hammer. They weaponized it against their political adversaries and were caught doing it in 2015 when whistleblower Dennis Montgomery stepped forward, turned over that information to the FBI, has a written receipt for those hard drives, yet they seem to have completely disappeared and nobody's wanting to talk about them. Maybe that's what documents are being buried. Maybe they're embarrassed that they are going to be exposed. And there's also a real national security thought here, because the FBI, let's think of it this way. What happens when it turns out that the FBI agents who were basically working all of these other real criminal cases, putting real criminals behind jail, then got involved with this whole Russiagate collusion thing and this insurance policy to frame the president? What if it comes out that they're as dirty as a dog, and that but then what happens to those convictions? You'll have every appeal court full for the next decade with individuals who are prosecuted, seeking appeals, trying to get their hearings or their sentences thrown out. That's a real thing. And that should make you angry, because that's how bad they screwed our country. Excuse my French, but they truly did. This is how bad they betrayed us. This is how bad it is that some of these people, if we indict them, then we'll have to release criminals, right? That should make you upset. I don't know. It makes me upset. And of course, the Gateway pundit always jumps down, but here we go. President Trump blasting the FBI director back. This is back in May of 2019, where he was saying that the FBI has no leadership. The director is protecting the same gang that tried to overthrow the president through an illegal coup. Quoting Tom Fitton over at Judicial Watch. So we got to keep an eye on all this stuff. We've already known about this for a long time, too. I mean, here's a report from 2013. Talking about how the U.S. directed agents to cover up programs used to investigate Americans. This is right around the time that President Obama was ordering John Brennan to set up, with Dennis Montgomery and James Clapper, this Hammer surveillance system that could basically spy on anyone and everyone in the United States, that he could get all of access to basically all of your information without a warrant, and you'd be unmasked. This is real. Now, here's another story. The other day, a Multnomah county judge sentences a former Disney vice president to 6 years in prison for child sex abuse. That tells you everything you need to know about the kind of people working over at Disney. And this brings me to this story about Alex Jones. Obviously, we're going to wrap it up here. So Alex Jones has offered $1 million reward as FBI investigates this child pornography that was planted on his InfoWars server. So apparently, he's involved with some litigation for his comments on Sandy Hook. Now, with that in mind, he was turning over his email servers and the metadata to the attorneys who were trying the case. And apparently, after they went through the information, they found it was either 6 or 12, maybe half dozen or a dozen emails that had never been opened by anyone at the InfoWars offices, but that contain exploitative pictures of children. And we're talking about the kind child porn that you would go to federal prison, like it would be a felony for. So this story is developing, and then Alex Jones went on the air and basically said, "Hey, I'll give $1 million to anyone out there who can prove that this was a setup and show who, or not prove that it was a setup, but to help convict and to help find." He said, to arrest and convict whoever did this to him. So I'm just throwing it out there. I thought it was an interesting story. But I think that's where this all heads. I mean, you got to look at Alex Jones sometimes. The way I look at it is he's like the canary in the coal mine for what they're going to keep trying to do to destroy those that they target. So if you are one of the people who they don't want your opinion out there, the bigger you are, the harder they're going to come after you. This seems like that. We're going to have to wait and see how the investigation plays out. But if if you're really smart and you know how to investigate emails and you want to make $1 million, yeah, there you go. Give it a shot. Never know. And so that's pretty much where we're going to wrap it up here for this episode. A few more things before we go. Obviously, you can help out the channel by coming here, clicking the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications. Share these videos. Like I said, they're not getting suggested. And if they are, it's probably because you're subscribed. And other than that, I haven't heard any other updates to this point. But share them on your social media to get the word out that way. And leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below because I want to hear what you guys have to say about all of this stuff. And that's pretty much it. But before we go, we're going to take one more second to check out a few more things, a few more ways you can help with the website. Come over here and find me on Twitter at JustInformU on Twitter, at JustInformU on Twitter, the letter U. It's a cool way you can help, have a conversation outside the channel. It's a cool way to get involved. Also, don't forget to come check out justinformednews.com, official website for Just Informed Talk. We got links to all the QAnon stuff, links to different news websites. And of course, here you'll have breaking news reports and the videos from the channel. So there's a lot of information and tools that you can use over there at justinformednews.com. Also, I have a new channel up, Just Informed Podcast. We are working on the next episode. It is coming very soon. I know I keep saying that, but just a lot of work going on behind the scenes to get this channel going. But yeah, it's a Just Informed Podcast. Come check it out. Hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you get notified. And that's a cool way you can help support the channel. Other couple ways you can help the channel. Come find me on Patreon, patreon.com/justinformedtalk. It's a crowdfunding website. It's a monthly donation. You set it and forget it. Come here. There'll be a link in the description. Click this button. And look, your support is what's kept this channel alive up till now. So if you guys want to keep this content coming, just continue to support the channel. And all I know is that with the demonetization, all the stuff, the crazy stuff that's happening at YouTube, you guys are what keep this channel alive. So thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Also, I have a GoFundMe set up. If you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation, that'll be in the link as well. So go check that out. Before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And for tonight's segment, I'm going to read a verse out of Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 10 through 13. And I want to share it with you because it's kind of one of those passages, pieces of scripture that kind of remind us all what's most important in life and how to deal with adversity, especially when we get roadblock after roadblock after roadblock and we think, man, nothing's going right. This, I hope, helps you out there going through that right now. It says, "Don't say, 'Why were the former days better than these?' For it is not wise of you to ask this. Wisdom is as good as an inheritance and an advantage to those who see the sun. For wisdom is protection as money is protection. And the advantage of knowledge is that wisdom preserves the life of its owner. Consider the work of God, for who can straighten out what he has made crooked?" And that's, I mean, to me, when I read those words, sharing them with you, it's just about reminding ourselves that in this life, we have to put our faith in the Lord. We have to put our faith in God. We have to trust in the Lord and his plan. And we have to understand that although we may come to adversity after adversity after adversity, we need to remind ourselves and our loved ones and those that we really care about, our friends and family, and everyone out in the world that we can, that everything will be all right as long as we have faith in our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And that's really my message to you, because the one thing that stands out to me is who can straighten out what God has already made crooked? Meaning, who among us can really change God's plan? All we can do is be thankful for every moment we have, share that with our family and friends and loved ones, and put that out into the world to make it a better place. So that's where I'm going to leave it. I want to say thank you to everybody who's hit that subscribe button. Come here if you haven't. Click the big red subscribe button. Make sure you hit bell for notifications. Hit it, punch it, smash it, like it. Whatever. Hit the like button. Hit that below if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. But that's going to be it for me. I want to say thank you for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.